Hey guys! So, for today, I just wanted to make a quick video about differing cultures because I'm part of Filipino background, full Filipino parents. I've grown up in the UK, so that's the British culture, on top of having Jamaican godparents. And so every year they host this barbecue party for my godmother, whose birthday coincides with the Notting Hill Carnival, and literally everybody comes down. And so I end up always going there. But I always find myself feeling a little awkward because I feel the clash of the differing cultures of like, I don't know, it just feels really weird, really clashy. But I think I think it's more of the spiritual culture than the physical culture, because the spiritual culture is, I'm a born again Christian and they're not, so not one of them is. So I don't know, but when I go there it just feels really different. And on top of the fact that my god sister's herself culture amongst her and her friends and her family, the younger generation, their culture is sort of like a mocking type of, like, they have attitude and sass, and then they like to like make fun of people and think things are funny. Like if you're different, they think it's funny, they make laugh at you, and they like to party and dress naked, get drunk or have a drink, and like really go all out. And I'm more of a homebody, sort of relaxed, and also because spiritually I'm not like that. I don't like to sit there and mock people like that and make fun or drink alcohol and get filled with another spirit. So I'm just more like, I'm not saying I don't drink alcohol, but I don't get drunk, if you get what I mean. Like, so I think there's that culture of difference that's happening there. And so I feel like a clash. There's like a clash there. I mean, I tend to try and get on with everybody. I talk with the people, but I think most of my friends are like mothers, fathers, and grandparents, because I don't know. I think because we talk more about different things than mocking people and making fun of people and whatever else is in the trending of the young people. Like, we talk about life, we talk about, you know, different things, and I don't know, I tend to feel less clashy with the older community, even whatever culture, even if it's a different culture. I tend to gravitate more towards them. So I've always felt a little bit awkward with the young culture, and she is a few years younger than me. So there's that, and then the whole Filipino culture versus the Jamaican Caribbean culture. Like, I'm not saying they can't mix, but I do feel like when I go there, I'm completely surrounded by, first of all, the worldly culture, the worldly spirit, and then I'm completely surrounded by the Caribbean culture, the Jamaican culture. And I just feel like sometimes, even if they're speaking English, they've got the accent, sounds really different, and then things that they do and talk about is really different, and you know they feel comfortable to just sit there, vibe to the music, but then I get like really bored, and I'm thinking we should talk about something, like, let's just sit here bopping our heads to some music that I don't thoroughly get. But it's or play games like we do with the Filipino community. We always have games, or we always have something going on. Karaoke. Mostly the Filipinos, if you go to a Filipino party, even if it's a worldly party, Filipino worldly party, even if it's a Christian Filipino party, there's always a karaoke, there's always singing, there's always something happening, there's always some sort of conversation going on. There's none of this other things, and then because this family, especially my god sister, is part of the British culture and the Notting Hill Carnival on top of that, they always like to be naked, like dress as if they were naked, and so there's a lot of nakedness happening at this party. of these girls. It's mostly the girls, and I just felt so awkward. There was this one lady, I didn't realize she was older, like 30s, because she looked so much younger. And it's not just because her face, it was because of the way she was dressed. She was basically just wearing a bra and some little tiny shorts, and she's got really big chest, right? And so I'm looking at her, and she had her face done, everything, and I thought, okay, she's young. So when I was chatting to her, I was like trying to get to know her like a little bit more than when I used to. And I realized when I asked her age that she was in her 30s, and I'm looking at her, and then she's trying to act like, she was acting like, she had these mannerisms that were like graceful and elegant. And I'm looking at her mannerisms of grace and elegance versus her nakedness, and I'm thinking it doesn't match. Like, it literally doesn't match. How at that age, how can you just, I don't know, it doesn't match. And I just thought that's really weird. I find that to be really funny, really strange, really weird. And I thought she shouldn't do that to herself anymore, because, I don't know. I'm not saying, loads of people come naked to these carnival things. It's a choice, and she chose to do that. She chose to be like that. But I think it clashes with her elegance and her grace. Like, it doesn't match at all. And I find that to be really strange. Usually when you see naked people who are literally naked running around, it's like they have the attitude or the mannerisms that go with their nakedness, but she doesn't have that. She has this elegance and grace of a princess, and yet she's completely, like, practically naked, and it doesn't fit with the culture that she has inside of herself, with her mannerisms versus the body that she's dressing in. Like, it was just completely clashing. But anyway, I just wanted to say that I find it always to be difficult. And the fact that I realised now that my god sister, I've always socialised within her environment, her culture. She hasn't come in and socialised with people of my people of my culture, on top of the spiritual of the born again culture, as well as the Filipino culture. So she hasn't seen that. She's only seen me, and she's seen me as being weird because I'm different. I drink hot drinks at a party, and she's like, no, you don't do that. Or I dress the way I dress, and it's like, no, you don't do that. And I'm, it's only realized now as I'm an adult that my entire life, our whole life together as a family, she hasn't seen the Filipino side of it, like the Filipino culture, that how we are as a community, that how me, myself, and I is normal. The way that I am is normal to my community. The way that I dress is normal to my community. The things like having a hot drink at a party is normal to my community. And the things that we do, is always normal to my community. But the one thing that I do want to stress out that is beyond earthly cultures is the spiritual culture of the Christianity, the born again. Because I find myself, every time I go to a party that is, I don't know anybody, I end up always finding a born again Christian. And whenever I do, we end up becoming family. Like, instantly, there's this instant they treat me like their daughter or granddaughter or whatever. They treat me like their daughter, that they treat me like family. I treat them like family, and we end up, we're like best friends, And people look at us and say, how can you guys act like you're best friends, like you've known each other for years, you gel it with each other perfectly, like there's no difference, there's no clash between you. And it's because, even though if we're earthly differing cultures, we never knew each other before, it's because our culture is from the kingdom of heaven, and that is the kingdom that we belong to. That is our citizenship. And when we meet each other, we come together, we are united, and we become one. We become the body of Christ as we gel and merge together. So even though we might be different cultures and merging in different cultures physically on earth, spiritually we are united in the one kingdom, and we just become heaven together. And God is there in our midst, and we are just one. We have become one people, and we are one nation, no matter where we are. So that's all I wanted to say.